There is a path to success, and it is not traveled by those who carry unnecessary burdens. If you desire to rise above mediocrity, if you seek to command your destiny rather than be at the mercy of circumstances, then you must strip away the habits that hinder your progress. There are three enemies of success, three destructive forces that will rob you of the greatness that is rightfully yours. Eliminate them, and the doors of opportunity will swing wide open before you. The greatest barrier to success is not the world outside, nor the circumstances that appear unfavorable. It is the doubt that exists within. The man who questions his own abilities has already placed a wall between himself and his destiny. Self-doubt is the silent thief that robs men of their dreams before they even take the first step. It whispers falsehoods into the mind, convincing one that he is not capable, not worthy, and not ready. Yet, those who achieve greatness are not necessarily the strongest, the smartest, or the most talented. They are the ones who refuse to doubt themselves. The mind is the architect of one's reality. What a man believes about himself dictates the course of his life. If he believes he is limited, he will act in a way that confirms that limitation. If he believes he is destined for greatness, his actions will align with that belief. The world does not shape a person's success. The person shapes the world around him through his thoughts and convictions. Every great achievement begins with the certainty that it is possible. It is not external circumstances that determine what a man can accomplish. It is the internal conviction that he carries. Many men allow their past failures to dictate their future potential. They look at their mistakes and see them as proof that they are incapable. But failure is not a sign of inadequacy. It is a lesson, a stepping stone, a necessary ingredient for growth. The man who has never failed has never tried to do anything of significance. Those who succeed are not the ones who have never stumbled. They are the ones who refuse to let doubt take hold after they fall. They stand up, learn, and move forward with greater wisdom and resilience. Doubt often disguises itself as logic, as caution, as rational thinking. It convinces a man to wait for the right time, to gather more information, to ensure he is fully prepared before taking action. But there is no perfect time, no moment where all uncertainty vanishes. The man who waits for complete confidence before he acts will spend his life waiting. Confidence is not something one is born with, something one builds by taking action despite the doubt. The only way to gain the experience and strength needed for success is to step forward boldly, even when fear lingers in the background. The world is filled with those who never reach their potential, not because they lack talent, but because they allowed doubt to convince them to quit before they even started. Every great leader, every visionary, every self-made success had moments where doubt tried to creep in. The difference between them and those who remain in mediocrity is that they silence that doubt with action. They did not wait to feel ready were. A man must train his mind to reject the seeds of doubt before they take root. He must speak to himself with certainty, reinforcing his own belief in his abilities. Just as the body grows stronger through repeated exercise, the mind grows stronger through repeated affirmations of confidence. The words a man speaks to himself shape his reality. If he constantly tells himself he is not good enough, he will act accordingly. But if he tells himself that he is capable, worthy, and destined for success, he will rise to meet that expectation. Another way to eliminate self-doubt is through action. Action creates evidence, and evidence strengthens belief. A man who takes the first step, even when uncertain, will soon find himself more confident than before. Each small victory builds upon the last, creating a foundation of certainty. The mind cannot argue with results. The more one acts despite doubt, the less power that doubt holds. Doubt is an illusion, a false barrier created by the mind. It has no real substance unless one gives it power. The man who understands this will refuse to let doubt dictate his decisions. He will move forward with faith in his abilities, knowing that success is not reserved for a select few, but for those who refuse to let fear and hesitation control their destiny. Excuses are the refuge of the weak, the shield of those unwilling to take full responsibility for their lives. The man who makes excuses convinces himself that external circumstances are to blame for his lack of progress, that fate has conspired against him. That opportunity is reserved for others, and yet success does not wait for the man who justifies his failures. It belongs to the one who looks at every challenge, every obstacle, and every setback and says, I will find a way. Excuses are chains that bind a man to mediocrity, and only when he breaks free from them can he step into the greatness that is rightfully his. The world does not reward those who explain why they cannot succeed. It rewards those who find a way despite the odds. Many look at their lack of resources, their past failures, their difficult circumstances, and use them as reasons to remain where they are. But the truth is, every successful person has faced adversity. And every great leader, every self-made millionaire, every innovator who changed the world has encountered difficulties that could have been used as excuses. The difference is that they refused to let those difficulties define them. They took responsibility for their outcomes, and in doing so, they claimed the power to shape their own destiny. Excuses are seductive because they offer comfort. They allow a man to escape the discomfort of admitting that he is not putting in the necessary effort, that he has let fear hold him back, that he has not yet developed the discipline required to succeed. But comfort is the enemy of growth. A man who is too comfortable with where he is will never reach where he wants to be. Growth requires discomfort, requires facing the truth about one's own weaknesses, and requires the willingness to change. A man must train himself to see every excuse for what it truly is, a lie that keeps him from his potential. If he says he does not have enough time, he must ask himself how others, with the same 24 hours, have achieved great things. If he says he lacks the knowledge, he must remind himself that knowledge is available to those who seek it. If he says he does not have the right connections, he must remember that success is not given. It is built one step at a time through relentless effort and determination. Those who make excuses often look at successful people and assume they had it easier, that they were born with advantages, that they were lucky. But luck is an illusion. Luck is what the unsuccessful call the results of discipline, sacrifice, and persistence. No man rises to the top without struggle. The difference is that those who succeed use struggle as fuel, while those who fail use it as an excuse to quit. The greatest power a man possesses is the ability to take control of his own life. When he stops blaming circumstances, stops justifying inaction, and stops making excuses, he will find that success is not as far away as it once seemed. The path is open to all, but only those who refuse to be prisoners of their own justifications will walk it. The choice is simple: hold on to excuses, or let them go and claim what is rightfully yours. A man's environment shapes his destiny more than he realizes. The people he surrounds himself with, the conversations he engages in, and the energy he absorbs all play a role in determining his level of success. If he spends his time with small-minded individuals, you complain, doubt, and fear ambition, he will inevitably adopt their mindset. The man who allows negative company into his life is like a tree planted in poor soil. No matter how much potential he possesses, he will struggle to grow. Success requires a foundation of strength, and that foundation begins with choosing the right people to have in one's circle. There are those who fear success not because they lack the ability to achieve it, but because they do not want to be different from those around them. They see the comfort in conformity, the safety of being just like everyone else. But the truth is, growth requires separation. A man cannot rise while staying tied to those who refuse to elevate themselves. The company of the small-minded keeps a man small. But wanting more is greedy, and that ambition is arrogant. These ideas are planted in his mind not because they are true, but because those around him fear what his success will say about their own inaction. A man must have the courage to distance himself from those who drain his energy, those who criticize his dreams, and those who mock his ambition. The people in his life are either lifting him up or pulling him down. There is no neutrality. If he surrounds himself with those who constantly speak of limitations, he will begin to see limits where there are none. If he listens to those who say success is impossible, he will soon believe it himself. And the mind absorbs what it is exposed to repeatedly, and if a man wants to fill his mind with thoughts of greatness, he must remove anything that contradicts that vision. The most dangerous kind of negative company is They're not always obvious. It is not just the openly bitter or jealous individuals who hold a man back. Sometimes it is the well-meaning friends and family who unknowingly project their fears onto him.
They say things like, "Are you sure that's a good idea? Or maybe you should play it."
Their words may come from a place of love, but they are laced with fear, and fear is the enemy of progress. A man must learn to recognize when the advice he receives is rooted in caution rather than confidence, in comfort rather than courage. He must be able to filter out the voices that do not align with his vision. Surrounding oneself with the right people is not just about removing the wrong influences. It is also about seeking out those who inspire, challenge, and elevate. A man should strive to be in the company of individuals who think bigger than he does, who push him beyond his limits, and who refuse to let him settle for mediocrity. He should seek conversations that expand his perspective, relationships that reinforce his ambition, and mentors who have walked the path he aspires to travel. The fastest way to grow is to be in the presence of those who have already achieved what one desires. A man's success is not just determined by his skills, his knowledge, or his efforts. It is also determined by the environment he chooses to build around himself. If he allows negativity, doubt, and small thinking into his world, he will struggle to rise above it. But if he surrounds himself with strength, vision, and relentless determination, there will be no limit to what he can achieve. The choice is his. Stay in the company of those who hold him back, or walk boldly toward those who will help him become unstoppable. The mind is the most powerful tool a man possesses, yet few ever learn to control it. Most allow their thoughts to be dictated by their environment, their past, or the opinions of others. They react instead of direct. They allow doubt, fear, and uncertainty to take root, weakening their resolve and slowing their progress. But the man who learns to master his mind, who builds a strong and disciplined way of thinking, becomes unstoppable. He does not crumble under pressure, nor is he swayed by the distractions that pull others away from their goals. Instead, he sharpens his focus, strengthens his determination, and moves forward with unwavering belief in himself. A strong mind does not entertain weakness. It does not dwell on failure, nor does it give energy to negative emotions. When faced with adversity, the weak-minded man complains, looks for someone to blame. He understands that difficulty is a test designed to separate those who are willing to fight from those who are content with mediocrity. He faces becomes fuel for growth. Instead of asking to me, he asks, what can I learn from this? Instead of fearing setbacks, he embraces them as part of the process. Discipline is the foundation of mental strength. A man who lacks control over his thoughts will lack control over his actions. If his mind is filled with distractions, doubts, and fears, his results will reflect. But if he trains his mind to focus on his goals, to shut out negativity, and to push forward no matter the circumstances, his success becomes inevitable. This level of mental discipline does not come naturally. It must be developed through consistent effort. Just as the body grows stronger through repeated exercise, the mind becomes stronger through repeated discipline. Each time a man chooses to focus instead of giving in to distraction, to persist instead of giving up, to remain confident instead of doubting himself, he is training his mind for success. The weak-minded are ruled by their emotions. They allow temporary feelings to dictate their long-term actions. If they feel tired, they stop. If they feel discouraged, they quit. If they face resistance, they retreat. But emotions are fleeting, and those who rely on them to guide their decisions will never build anything lasting. The strong-minded man acts not based on how he feels in the moment, but based on the vision he has for his future. He does what is necessary, whether he feels like it or not. He wakes up early when he would rather sleep. He works hard when he would rather relax. He moves forward when every part of him wants to stop. This ability to act independently of emotions is what separates those who succeed from those who never realize their potential. To develop a strong mind, a man must be selective about what he allows into his thoughts. He must guard his mind as a warrior guards his kingdom, letting in only what serves his growth and shutting out all that weakens him. He must reject negativity, whether it comes from within or from others. He must refuse to dwell on doubt, choosing instead to reinforce his confidence daily. He must feed his mind with knowledge, with inspiration, with the words and wisdom of those who have achieved greatness before him. Just as the body becomes what it consumes, so too does the mind. The man who surrounds himself with greatness in thought will soon reflect greatness in action. A weak mind leads to a weak life. A strong mind builds an unshakable foundation for success. The man who understands this does not leave his mental strength to chance. He actively works on it, refining his thoughts, sharpening his focus, and disciplining his emotions until he becomes the master of his own destiny. Procrastination is the silent killer of dreams. It disguises itself as harmless delay, whispering promises of a better time, a perfect moment, a future where conditions will be more favorable. But that future never arrives, and those who listen to the voice of procrastination find themselves trapped in a cycle of inaction, watching opportunities slip through their fingers. The man who postpones action in pursuit of comfort unknowingly delays his own success. If he truly desires to achieve greatness, he must recognize that the only time to act is now. Success is not built in a single moment. It is built through consistent, disciplined action. Every day that a man delays is a day lost, a day that could have been used to move closer to his goal. Many deceive themselves into believing that they need more time to prepare, more knowledge, or more confidence before they begin. But preparation without action is nothing more than an illusion of progress. A man does not become ready by waiting. He becomes ready by starting. This breeds experience, breeds mastery. Those who accomplish great things are not necessarily the most skilled when they begin. They are simply the ones who had the courage to start before they felt ready. The man who claims he is waiting for the perfect moment, the perfect plan, or the perfect conditions is really just avoiding the discomfort of starting. He fears failure, uncertainty, and the effort required to push through obstacles. So he convinces himself that delaying is a form of preparation. But there is no such thing as the perfect time. There will always be challenges, always be uncertainties, always be reasons to wait. The difference between those who succeed and those who do not is that successful people act despite these imperfections. They understand that progress is messy, that mistakes are inevitable, and that every step forward, no matter how small, is better than standing still. The longer a man waits to take action, the more difficult it becomes. Procrastination weakens the will, making tasks appear larger and more overwhelming than they truly are. What could have been done in a single hour, started immediately, may feel impossible after weeks of delay. The mind begins to build resistance, creating excuses and rationalizations that justify continued inaction. Before long, what was once an exciting goal becomes a source of anxiety. And the man who once dreamed of achievement now doubts whether he is. The only way to break this cycle is through immediate action. A man must train himself to start, no matter how unprepared he feels, and trust that clarity and confidence will follow. Discipline is the cure for procrastination. A man who operates based on his feelings will always find reasons to delay, but a man who operates based on principles and commitment will act regardless of how he feels. Instead, he builds habits that ensure progress. He sets clear goals, creates deadlines, and holds himself accountable. He does not negotiate with excuses. He does what must be done. This ability to take consistent action, even in the absence of motivation, is what separates those who succeed from those who remain stuck in endless hesitation. There is no advantage in delay, no wisdom in waiting, and no reward for those who choose to postpone their own success. A man must understand that time is his most valuable asset, and every moment wasted is a moment that could have been used to build the life he desires. He must reject the lie that tomorrow is guaranteed and act as if today is his only chance. Because in reality, it is. Those who achieve greatness do so because they refuse to let procrastination steal their potential. They act, they move, they create, and in doing so, they leave behind those who are still waiting for the perfect time. Fear is the invisible force that holds men back from achieving their greatest potential. It whispers doubts, magnifies risks, and convinces a man that he is not ready, not capable, not worthy of success. Fear disguises itself as logic, caution, and prudence, but in reality, it is nothing more than an illusion designed to keep a man in the same place. The man who allows fear to dictate his choices will never rise above mediocrity, for fear thrives in hesitation, in inaction, in the comfort of the familiar. The only way to break free from its grip is to face it head on, to step boldly into the unknown, and to act in spite of its presence. Fear will always exist in some form. No man is ever truly without it. But the difference between those who succeed and those who do not is not the absence of fear, but rather the refusal to be controlled by it. The weak-minded let fear paralyze them. They avoid risks, shrink from challenges, and retreat at the first sign of discomfort. They convince themselves that waiting is wise, that more time is needed, that they must first feel completely confident before they take action. But confidence is not the prerequisite to success. It is the result of action. The only way to become fearless is to do the very things that fear warns against. The greatest opportunities in life always exist on the other side of fear. The man who refuses to confront fear remains trapped in a limited existence, watching from the sidelines as others take the risks, reap the rewards, and live the lives he only dreams of. He sees those who achieve greatness and tells himself that they are special, that they were born with something he lacks. But the truth is, they felt fear too. The difference is, they moved forward anyway. Every great leader, every successful entrepreneur, every champion in any field has felt the weight of fear pressing against them. But instead of surrendering, they used fear as fuel. They understood that fear is not a stop sign. It is a signal that they are stepping into new territory, expanding beyond their previous limits. Fear thrives in uncertainty as the birthplace of growth. A man who waits for certainty before taking action will wait forever. There will always be unknowns, always be risks, always be the chance of failure. But failure is not the enemy. Inaction is. A man who fails while moving forward is still progressing, still learning, still growing. A man who does nothing out of fear, however, gains nothing, learns nothing, and remains exactly where he is. Fear cannot be reasoned with, cannot be negotiated away. It must be conquered through action. The mind is where fear begins, and the mind is where fear must be defeated. A man must train himself to control his thoughts, to reject the voice of doubt, and to replace fearful thinking with thoughts of strength and certainty. The words he speaks to himself matter. If he constantly tells himself that he is not ready, that he might fail, that the risk is too great, then he will create a reality that reflects those beliefs. But if he conditions his mind to believe that he is capable, that he can handle any challenge, that failure is simply a stepping stone to success, then fear will lose its power over him. The world does not reward those who allow fear to dictate their lives. It rewards those who step forward in spite of it. The man who learns to act in the face of fear will always be ahead of the man who waits for fear to disappear. The choice is simple. Either be controlled by fear or take control over it. Those who choose the latter will find that fear was never real to begin with, only a shadow designed to test their resolve. And once they push through, they will realize that the life they desire was waiting for them all along. Success is not reserved for the lucky or the gifted. It belongs to those who are willing to do what most will not. It requires discipline, action, and the courage to break free from the habits and mindsets that hold most people back. Those who refuse to let distractions consume their focus, who develop the mental strength to persist through adversity, who eliminate procrastination and take decisive action, who do not allow fear to dictate their choices. These are the individuals who rise above the rest. The path to success is simple, but it is not easy. It demands sacrifice, commitment, and unshakable belief in one's ability to create the life they desire. But those who embrace these principles, who take control of their thoughts and actions, who step boldly into their potential, will find that success is not an impossible dream. It is the inevitable result of becoming the kind of person who refuses to settle for less. The choice is always yours. Will you rise or will you remain the same?